Okay, chat, okay. We're gonna try to be very, very mature in this video. We are not, listen to me, we are not going to make fun of Isaac Butterfield for being Australian, okay? Australia is a beautiful country with some of the most beautiful scenery on the planet. Now, granted, Australia is basically just the country version of Florida. You know, just like you took Florida in Photoshop and blew it up to the size of a country. But we're going to be nice today. Yeah, spider country. We're going to be nice today, okay? We're just going to stick to the arguments. And we're not going to make fun of Isaac Butterfield for being Australian. Actually, before we get into the video, someone messaged me this on Discord like a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, and it was actually pretty surprising. Apparently, despite Isaac Butterfield, for the most part, having some pretty damn 2016 level arguments when it comes to his like anti-SJW positions, apparently he's a pretty outspoken like social democrat. Like he's pretty like economically progressive. Like he's like a sock dem outside of like social beliefs. He's like big on most things that sock dems would care about. Yeah, so I guess he would be more like a class reductionist, but even then, I don't even know if that's how far you would go. Like kind of like a Jimmy Dore leftist. I don't know how credible that is, but the person who messaged me seemed to know what they were talking about, so I thought that was actually pretty interesting, because I feel like this is also the kind of guy that would try to claim that the leftists and the socialists and the communists are trying to push transgender ideology. Oh, fuck, I did it. God damn it. I said that we weren't going to make fun of him for being Australian, and I couldn't even go 2 minutes into the video without doing it. All right. Fuck me, dude. Let's get into it.
G'day you good motherfuckers, it's great to have you here. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you do it now. Let's jump into the bloody video, shall we?
How's the audio, by the way? Is the video too loud, too quiet? Just want to make sure. We good? We good? He's kind of quiet? Kind of quiet, huh? We'll just turn him up all the way then.
As with any video I make or anything I say about a contentious topic or particularly in...
Oh yeah, by the way, name of the video is Trans Weightlifter Going to the Olympics. So I don't know anything about this. I feel like if there actually was a trans weightlifter going to the Olympics, then I would have known about it, but let's learn about it. Apparently this is a thing that's happening.
Situation, the transgender discussion. I need to have a disclaimer on it, because apparently there are a large group of people that are, well, stupid fucking idiots. You need to make your position very, very clear. I think that if you are transgender, wonderful. All the power to you. Fucking you go girl or boy or indifferent. The only time I have any issue with it is when they do something that directly, negatively affects others. That's it. Now that that's been said, let's start.
Now, I feel like this is a genuine attempt on the side of Isaac Butterfield. I'm going to try to be very, very charitable here. I feel like this is a genuine attempt from the end of Isaac Butterfield to try to disclaim that he does not at least believe he is a transphobe. Now, granted, everything I've seen of Isaac Butterfield in which he talks about trans people has been, you know, like your bottom of the barrel, basic bargains bin transphobic arguments. I'm going to go ahead and address this argument right off the bat, okay? So, trans people don't want to hear that it's okay for them to be trans. Well, they do, and that's nice. The main thing that trans people are most concerned about is being viewed as the gender with which they identify. Trans women don't want to hear, oh, it's cool if you're transgender. They want to hear, I believe you're actually a woman. Same goes for trans men, and same goes for the validity of non-binary people. I feel like a lot of people who aren't very learned, such as myself, on this particular topic tend to sort of default to the it's fine if you're transgender talking point, rather than the ideal announcement that trans people are valid as their identity. Trans women are women, trans men are men, and non-binary people are valid. So, yeah, or non-binary. I don't really know what the go-through would be for non-binary people. Would it just be non-binary people are non-binary? I just go with valid. I feel like that fits a little bit better.
Start this video with someone who has been kicked out of the transgender community And the name that I'm about to tell you may shock you. This person was the fucking champion of the transgender club, and you will not fucking believe this. Caitlyn Jenner has been...
Oh, God. Oh, no. No, Isaac, no! Isaac, no! No! Alright, I'm gonna be super honest here. Nobody ever liked Caitlyn Jenner, okay? Nobody in the trans community ever liked Caitlyn Jenner. For as long as I have been doing lefty political content, since early 2019, every trans person that I've talked to has said, yeah, I mean, I really fucking hate Caitlyn Jenner. She's such a piece of shit. Don't get me wrong. Her gender identity is completely valid. She's a woman and all that. But guess what? And hey, this is a pill that I've had to swallow and that many people in my audience have had to swallow. Believe it or not, there are a lot of people online that are trans that I happen to hate for reasons completely unrelated to them being trans, okay? And that's been something I've had to explain a million fucking times. There are plenty of people out there who hate me, and I hate them, and they just happen to be trans. Doesn't have anything to do with them being trans, but you can have problems with somebody, and for those problems to be completely unrelated to their identity. You know? However, that hatred doesn't justify bigotry towards the group that person happens to be a part of, right? So, for example, I use this example a lot. If you find, okay, EDP445, let's use him as an example, because he's the actual, he's an actual person I can point to for this example. I used to just say, imagine there's a black guy who's a pedophile. Well, now I've got an example of one. So, EDP445, horrible fucking person, drove like an hour to fuck who he believed to be like a 14-year-old girl, right? Even though EDP445 is an awful human being who deserves to be in prison, that doesn't mean it's okay to call him the N-word. Because if you call EDP the N-word, you're not just calling EDP the N-word or being racist to just EDP. You're being racist to all black people. You're just doing a racism. So, when trans people, who, by the way, and trans advocates, I should say, have never really liked Caitlyn Jenner, are now being outspoken against her due to the fact that she's apparently running for, what was it, president? Is she running for president? I don't remember which it is. Is it president or, Senate, or what's she running for? Does anyone know? Governor? Oh, California governor. So now that... Oh, God, I really hope she doesn't I don't think she'll win, but I really fucking hope she doesn't. I'll fucking get out of this state in an instant. Holy shit. I'll never be able to live that one down. Now that she's running against, or running for governor in California, she has way more eyes on her politically, which means people who have never really liked her are going to be more outspoken than they have been in the past in their unfavorable opinion of her politics. So no, she was never the queen of the transgender community, like Isaac said. She was just probably the most well-known trans person because she had been known for a very long time. She was extremely popular, and then she came out as trans and basically pushed trans acceptance into the cultural discussion back in, 2016, 2015? I believe it was 2016, right? Which was a time when, topics around gender started to get really popular in the culture war argument. Also, the one queen of the trans community is ContraPoints. No one will be able to take that away from us.
Kicked out of the Transgender Alliance. Why? Well, Caitlyn, who is now running for governor of California because, I don't know, she's fucking bored or something, came out recently, only a few days ago, and said something unspeakable and disgusting.
There's legislation in various states to ban biological boys who are trans from playing girls' sports in school. What's your opinion on that?
I oppose biological boys who are trans competing in girls' sports in school. It just isn't fair.
Jenna got absolutely hammered for saying that, as I'm sure you can imagine the people who fucking hammered her for.
Oh, good lord. All right. Well, unfortunately, the trans sport discussion, as much as it is one that I try to avoid as much as possible, is a very stupid wedge issue that I'm kind of thrusted into and forced to talk about every month or so. So, there's a lot to unpack there. All right. Listen. There is not a lot of research around the trans sports discussion. Whenever I talk about these issues, I try to support my position with as much research and data and studies and what have you as possible. And there just isn't that much around this particular topic. However, I don't think that in most cases, the potential, what's the word for it? Sportsmanship of sports, or I should say the integrity of sports, matters more than the enfranchisement of a large segment of our population. And trans people are a fairly large piece of the population. Xandral, I said this in Demon Mama's chat, but the sports issue is becoming as annoying as the abortion debate. Yeah, it's really one of those issues that's used by transphobes to try to stoke transphobia, right? Because it's very easy to get people, even if you take someone who on most issues is pretty pro-trans, right? They even believe that trans women are actually women or trans men are actually men, saying, oh, so do you think trans women should compete against cis women? That's usually going to stoke some level of cautiousness or even some buried transphobia in them, because the average normie brain would immediately jump to the position of, well, of course not. I mean, don't get me wrong, trans women are still women and trans men are still men, but I mean, they grew up, like, they went through the wrong, many of them went through the wrong puberty. They, like, if trans women might have gone through male puberty, they might have, like, stronger bones, like, all the physical attributes you would typically associate with men, right? Now, of course, this is not always or even commonly the case, but that is still the idea that gets brought up in a lot of people's minds, your average normie who hears about this topic. So I get very, very cautious when I hear the trans sports debate brought up, especially when we talk about things like the Florida genital inspection bill that just happened. We talked about it recently, but Florida passed a bill in which students, only girls, by the way, only girls prior to entering school sports will have their genitals inspected by a doctor to verify that they're a real girl before they can compete in women's sports. So, you know, that's do you think maybe if we're pushing this whole sports thing so hard, this whole trans sport issue so hard, and now we're having legislation passed in which kids are having their junk looked at and inspected before they can kick the ball around or whatever, like maybe we've gone a little too far with it. Like maybe that's where we should be like, well, okay, all right, let's not have the little girl inspector be checking to see if there's not a little dangly down there, you know? So with that said, let's rewind. Hold up. Wait a minute. Rewind. Something ain't right. Okay? Did you notice the language used in that clip there? Some people already pointed it out, but do you notice the language?
Cool. What's your opinion on that?
I oppose biological boys who are trans competing in girl sports in school. It just isn't fair.
Jenna got...
Biological boys who are trans competing against girls isn't fair. Biological boys. This entire argument stems at some point from the idea that trans women aren't real women and trans men aren't real men. I'm not interested in having an actual philosophical or scientific discussion about whether or not trans people should be participating in the sport of their choice until we can agree on the basic assumption going into the debate that trans women are women, trans men are and trans men are men. We have to agree on that foundational idea before we can build the rest of this entire argument up on top of it till we get to something as esoteric as the trans sport debate. Also, do you guys know about that one image that a lot of TERFs were throwing around recently? Hold on. Trans man force. Do you guys remember that one image? Here it is. So it was pretty damn funny. God, this is one of my favorite fucking memes, dude. So for a while, a lot of TERFs and transphobes on Twitter were sharing around this image, and they were talking about how this person right here is a trans woman who is being allowed to compete against cisgender women in wrestling, and oh my God, look how this trans girl is choking out this poor helpless cis girl. And then, I shit you not, do you want to know what actually happened? This is a trans dude. This guy right here is a trans dude who wasn't allowed to wrestle with the guys and was forced to wrestle girls. And this is what happened. Whenever we get into the trans sports debate, it always focuses on trans women competing against cis women, but never gets to trans men competing against cis women, which in the vast majority of cases ends up resulting in this. Essentially the exact thing that transphobes and TERFs are afraid will happen if trans women compete against cis women. And I do have to say, the passing around of this photo does in fact highlight the lack of education or willingness to do any type of research on the part of transphobes and TERFs. But yeah.
Absolutely hammered for saying that, as I'm sure you can imagine the people who fucking hammered her for it were woke people on social media, mainly Twitter, and all the social justice warrior types. They all went after her and said how despicable, how disgusting, etc., etc.
Yep, believe it or not, your identity does not determine your beliefs, and people can disagree with somebody and not like them despite their identity. Who would have thought? Who would have fucking thought? Also, please take me out of 2016. I don't know why. I feel like we're going full circle again. Have you guys noticed that, like, sometimes I feel jealous of the left-wing political content creators that were around back in 2016? Because right-wing arguments back in the day, back in the golden age of the anti-SJW skeptic community in 2016, were so surface level and easy to debunk. But now they've kind of, they've evolved a bit. It seemed like for a while there, it seemed like they evolved their arguments and they got a little bit better at it. But now that it's been 5 years, it feels like we've gone full circle. Like, all of the popular, like, reactionary content creators are making the same arguments that the skeptic community made back in 2016. It's like full circle, coggers, full circle. We've gone all the way back. And you know what? I'm downright thrilled about that, because you know what that means? I know all of the dog shit reactionary 2016 talking points. I know all of them by heart. I used to believe in that shit, and now I don't. So, please, let's go back to those arguments. It'll make my job way easier. My debunk videos will be way more entertaining, and there'll be a breeze, a walk in the park for me.
Even though she's right.
Caitlyn Jenner is coming under fire for remarks she made about transgender athletes. Jenner, who transitioned after an Olympic gold medal career, says she doesn't think trans girls should be allowed to compete in female sports.
It was all over the mainstream media. Even Sarah Silverman, who's a comedian in America, went on the attack as well.
This is not worrying about girls' sports.
True.
Believe me, this
True.
is not concern for girls' sports. It's transphobia, full stop.
True.
Whether or not you agree with Caitlyn Jenner, it doesn't really matter. It's just funny how that once you say something out of turn, there's a massive pile on. This would never...
So this is the argument he's trying to make in the video. He puts forward the completely false premise that Caitlyn Jenner was this beloved queen of the fucking transes across the planet, but then she stepped out of line from the dialogue tree of the trans ideology, and now she's being turned on when nobody, left or right, I guess nowadays the right-wingers are actually liking Caitlyn Jenner because she's a right-winger. Now all of a sudden, now all the trans people don't like her. Nobody's ever liked Caitlyn Jenner. Nobody. Nobody. That, like, Caitlyn Jenner was never this trans icon to most of the trans community. The people she was an icon to were like wine mom liberals who maybe kind of like trans people and heard, oh, big popular celebrity came out as trans. Let's, yas queen, slay. But like actual trans people in the trans community have never liked Caitlyn Jenner. She's always had dog shit takes. She's never been a particularly good person before or after transition. The trans community and the left as a whole has never liked her. She was a Trump supporter. She's been a Trump supporter. She was getting called out by the left in the trans community for the last 5 years for being a Trump supporter. She was never liked. This isn't like some recent she stepped out of line and now she's been turned on. That's not what happened. That's just a completely false premise that he put forward. Completely made up.
Ever happened only a few days before she said this. She was untouchable. Even Jimmy Kimmel went on and attacked her in a recent episode of his show because of something
untouchable
that was pretty tone deaf when it comes to homeless people. Now, it doesn't really matter what she said. The fact of the matter remains that if she didn't say what she said about transgender women competing against...
Wait, back in 2016, South Park did a whole season making fun of Caitlyn Jenner. They, like, made her face all disfigured and had her, like, repeatedly run people over, killing them. As, like, a running joke through a whole season of South Park back in 2016. What the fuck are you talking about? This dude... Isaac, you rub off on me as the kind of dude who... Rub off on me. You come off to me as the kind of dude who watches a lot of South Park. You got some of that South Park humor going. It seems like you're the kind of guy that, like, hasn't missed an episode. How can you honestly say that... Yeah, neat. How can you honestly say that Caitlyn Jenner was untouchable prior to her stepping out of line with the transgender ideology dialogue tree?
Against biological girls, then Jimmy Kimmel never would have attacked her at all. He would have been far too scared. It is just amazing how quickly the woke will attack their own. As soon as they step out of line or have wrong think, they will be destroyed.
Alright. I'm going to talk about this because there's a grain of truth in there that I don't want Isaac Butterfield to get credit for. As a leftist content creator who is on Twitter, there are in fact a lot of 15-year-olds who don't go outside that do have a tendency to turn on any lefty content creator or public figure the second they do something they don't like and engage in some of the most virulent, abusive harassment brigades imaginable. Think Merrick, think ContraPoints, think Physiological before she came out. Do you guys remember that tweet? Do you guys remember that tweet that Physiological did? Oh god, I feel like I go back to this tweet every once in a while because it's so funny. The graveyard below this tweet. Oh my god. Where is it? Where is it? Hold on. I promise this will be worth it. I'm trying to find it. Fuck. Does anyone have a link to the tweet that she did, like, where she was made the joke about Trump being trans and she got, like, massively dogpiled, but now, like, a month later she came out as trans, and then it was just all the woke scolds deleted their tweets, and it's just this tweet has been deleted, 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 all beneath it. Does anyone have a link? Please. Please, chat, help me. Help me find it, please. Please, chat. Please. Please, chat, help me. Help me. No! The tweet's gone! Okay, she deleted the tweet. Damn it! I'm so mad! I like going back and looking Okay, we can look at some of the responses, okay? So here's the... So this was quote tweeting the original tweet. This is from January 30th. When Philosophy Tube made this joke months ago, she hadn't come out as trans, so many people criticized her as a cis man, making jokes that only trans people should be allowed to make. This thread is now hilarious in retrospect, and the replies have me dying. Now, you can't see it, but it was a graveyard of deleted tweets. Just a graveyard of deleted tweets. Here, apparently here's an image of the tweet. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, here it is. So... she quote tweeted a New York Times article saying, or New York Post, sorry, saying nonpartisan board calls on Trump to begin transition, like transitioning from Trump to Biden, right? And pre-transition Philosophy Tube had quote tweeted it and said, "That's a surprise. Best of luck to the president in her transition." And then all the replies, "You're not trans. You don't get to make this joke." The best time to delete this post is immediately after posting it. The second best time is now. Bad sis. No transphobic BS. Stop. And a little spray bottle with like trans stuff on it. And then someone replies, Wait a minute. Look, it's Captain Hindsight. You don't get to make this joke. How about now? Lamau, excellent follow through. You're not trans. You don't get to make this joke. This is a great lesson. Never jump to conclusions and be kind to everyone. She got dogpiled for this. And listen, her coming out as trans isn't what made that joke okay. The joke was always fine. There was nothing wrong with that joke whatsoever. It was literally just a fucking play on words, funny haha meme. There was never anything wrong with that joke whatsoever. So I want to be clear. Her coming out as trans isn't what made that joke okay. It was always okay. The joke was always fine. So I will say, Isaac Butterfield is kind of right. The left does have a tendency to eat itself. Woke scolds are a big problem. But no way in hell am I going to let a fucking reactionary, at least when it comes to social issues, try to use that. An issue with the left and leftist content creators and public figures have talked about plenty, from ContraPoints to me, to Vosh, to Destiny even, to fucking everybody. Try to use that as ammo against the left as a whole.
I guess I'm sorry for what I'm about to say. Biological men or boys, people who were born as a male, they will always and forever have a distinct advantage over someone who was born a woman. You can call me transphobic all you want.
This just isn't true. If you wanted to get... he could have really easily tried to make that argument if he just said generally, like most of the time or generally that would be the case, but that's just not true. It's been found, at least in every study that's been done on this topic, that if you have a kid, like we'll use a trans girl as an example, if you've got like a kid who has gender dysphoria, they've been diagnosed by a mental health medical professional, and they're put on hormone blockers before they experience a male puberty, and then they get on... estrogen or other feminizing hormones around the time when they would normally get into puberty, then physically speaking, bone density wise, muscle density, structure, all that kind of stuff, then they would basically come out of it almost physically in regards to everything that would matter when doing sports, indistinguishable from that of a cis woman.
Just not. It's just science, it's fact, and we live in a world where
sure
for some
that?
reason people can be hurt by facts. Fuck that shit, alright? This
2016.
is just the reality of the situation. And
2016.
those uncomfortable facts and that unfortunate reality which brings me to why I made this video. 43-year-old transgender weightlifter Laurel Hubbard from New Zealand is set to go and compete at the Tokyo Olympics. Why is it such an issue? We see in the junior records in 1998 in New Zealand, Hubbard set the record with the 135 kilo snatch, clean and jerk, the 170 kilo and total 300 kilo. I don't know what that really means, but what I assume it means is she set the records in those divisions. But when she...
Do you want to read this article and see if this is nearly as objectionable as it's being made out to be? Trans weightlifter, The Guardian, Laurel Hubbard. The Guardian, Laurel Hubbard. Let's see. Let's find out. Let's find out. Ooh. Yeah, the article's not too long. We'll put it into a TTS reader. Let's see. TTS reader. Can we give the TTS reader an Australian accent? Let's see. Let's see if we can give this thing a let's see, Australian. Can we get an Australian one? English UK, English US. It doesn't look like we can't get Australian, but we can get British, which is basically the same thing. And we'll do it at the fast speed, so it's a little bit quicker.
This text. You may edit this text here, or upload a file such as text, PDF.
Shut up. Shut up. I know. I fucked up. Alright. Wait. Do they have a built-in play button? Wait, really? Oh, no, they don't. Okay, I was about to say, if the website had a built-in TTS reader, I would be like, what the fuck?
History and controversy is expected to be made at the Tokyo Olympics this summer after the transgender weightlifter Laurel Hubbard was effectively guaranteed a place in the women's super heavyweight category. While the 43-year-old has not yet been named in the New Zealand team, an International Weightlifting Federation insider confirmed to The Guardian that she would automatically qualify because of amended rules approved by the International Olympic Committee. Sebastian Coe expects Tokyo Olympics to go ahead after test event in Japan. Read more. The insider said that while teams did not have to be named until the 5th of July under the new qualification rules, which had come into effect after several competitions were lost because of the COVID-19 pandemic, Hubbard was sure of a place in Tokyo if fit. It means Hubbard, who won silver at the 2017 World Championships and was 6th after a severe injury in 2019, is almost certain to become the first transgender athlete to compete at an Olympics.
Wait! If you actually read the article, she's never come in first at any major event. So, does this mean that she lost the gold to a cis woman? This trans woman, this trans weightlifter, by the way, it's not even confirmed that she's going to get in, by the way. We just read that. She's lost the gold to a cis woman before. Literally, like, 4 paragraphs in.
It means Hubbard, who won silver at the 2017 World Championships and was 6th after a severe injury in 2019, is almost certain to become the first transgender athlete to compete at an Olympics. And while she will be the oldest weightlifter at the Games, she will also have a genuine chance of a medal given her qualifying lifts rank her 4th out of the 14 qualifiers in the 87 kilograms plus super heavyweight category for Tokyo.
Pog.
However, her selection will sharply divide opinion between those who see it as an enormous step forward for trans athletes and others who insist she benefits from an unfair advantage. Under IOC guidelines, issued in November 2015, athletes who transition from male to female can compete in the women's category without requiring surgery to remove their testes provided the total testosterone level in serum is kept below 10 nanomoles per liter for at least 12 months, a rule followed by the IWF. However, a number of scientific papers have recently shown people who have undergone male puberty retain significant advantages in power and strength even after taking medication to suppress their testosterone levels.
This is true. This is why we need to make hormone blockers more readily available for there's a variety of reasons why we should do this, but this is just one example of why we should have hormone blockers readily available for dysphoric kids that are diagnosed with gender dysphoria.
However, a number of scientific papers have recently shown people who have undergone male puberty retain significant advantages in power and strength even after taking medication to suppress their testosterone levels. Hubbard lived as a male for 35 years and did not compete in international weightlifting. But since transitioning in 2012, she has won several elite titles. In an interview after finishing second in the World Championships in 2017, Hubbard said, "The rules that enabled me to compete first went into effect in 2003. The recap. They are known as the Stockholm Consensus with the IOC, but I think even 10 years ago the world perhaps wasn't ready for an athlete like myself, and perhaps it is not ready now.
Wait, she didn't have any weightlifting experience prior to getting into, prior to transitioning, which is probably going to make things more fair, considering I believe what contributes most to a disparity between cis and trans women when it comes to sports, like if you have like a trans woman who transitions later in life and then gets into it, is whether or not they did their training in their earlier life before they started transitioning. That seems to have the largest impact overall. So if she wasn't doing any training or competing prior to coming out and transitioning, that's probably going to drastically decrease the likelihood of there being unfair advantages in regards to physical strength and what have you.
They are known as the Stockholm Consensus with the IOC, but I think even 10 years ago the world perhaps wasn't ready for an athlete like myself, and perhaps it is not ready now. But I got the sense at least that people were willing to consider me for these competitions, and it seemed like the right time to put the boots on and hit the platform. Hubbard had feared her career was over after sustaining an elbow injury at the Commonwealth Games in 2018, only to come back to near her best a year later. She is now 16th in the world rankings, but at least 6 of those above her will be absent because of IWF rules that limit nations to only 1 athlete per category, and she is certain to get the second Oceania spot behind Figiga Stoas of Samoa. We have a small favor to ask. Through these turbulent and challenging times, millions rely on The Guardian for independent journalism that stands for truth.
All right, Guardian. All right. So, here, can I get it to read from here?
With your help, we will continue to provide high-impact reporting that can counter misinformation.
I thought that was the rest of it. Okay, all right. All right, so it seems like... So here's the problem with the trans sports debate, okay? Here's my issue that I have with it. There's only 3 realistic solutions to this, okay? If you've got a trans woman who wants to compete in sports, there are 3 things that we can do. Either we allow that trans woman to compete in the in the team that they want to compete with, right? Like with the other women. We can either make a trans category, so you've got like the trans woman category, the trans man category, the cis woman category, and the cis man category, which seems a little odd to start segregating trans people from competing. Or we force trans women to compete against men and trans men to compete against women, which, as we went over before, in the case of trans men competing against women, that's basically going to have the outcome that conservatives are worried that having trans women compete against cis women will have. There's really just no outcome in this that isn't going to be like controversial, right? There just isn't. Either we have to find ways to deal with the potential disparity in strength and other physical features that could help like a generally trans women compete against cis women. We make a trans category, which is extremely weird and kind of like really like now we're segregating sports based on gender identity, like a little weird, like, you know, on being trans. Not something I don't know if we want to do that, or we just keep them in. You know, we just make them compete against the gender they were assigned at birth. Oh, we got a troll in chat just spamming G. Hey, thanks for not spamming the N-word, though. I appreciate that. Usually the trolls that come in just spam the N-word. All right, let's go.
Laurel Hubbard from New Zealand is set to go and compete at the Tokyo Olympics. Why is this such an issue? We see in the junior records in 1998 in New Zealand, Hubbard set the record with the 135 kilo snatch, clean and jerk, the 170 kilo and total 300 kilo. I don't know what that really means, but what I assume it means is she set the records in those divisions. But when she did that, she wasn't Laurel, she was Gavin. She then became a woman, set records in the 131 kilo snatch in 2017, won silver in the 90 kilogram class. 2019 set the Oceanic Women's Clean and Jerk record of 154 kilograms at the World Championships, won 2 gold medals in the Pacific Games, won 2 more gold medals at the Roma World Cup, and set the record in the Oceanic region of a snatch of 130 kilograms. That is a big fucking snatch. Now, why do I think
Nice.
that this lady going to the Olympic Games is bullshit. I will tell you why. She lived as a man for 35 years. She's now 43. 35 of those years, she was a man. When she was Gavin, he was a weightlifter, right? Wasn't successful, only became successful when she became Laurel.
Wait, didn't he just say that she had set like records in those categories that he listed before? Wait, didn't he just say that? Oh, and by the way, I should clarify here, I'm totally willing to concede that there's a high likelihood that she's going to have like some pretty severe physical advantages over the other cis women that she'll be competing with in the Olympics, if she's obviously gone through a male puberty and has lived as a male for decades, right? There's a high likelihood of that, right? Oh yeah, and then of course the dead naming, yeah, of course, yeah. Which wasn't really necessary. There are studies which show that in all age ranges, just a couple of years on HRT, the competitive advantages of trans women possess, the competitive advantages trans women possess are close to non-existent, Xander Hall. Really? Interesting.
Which is a bit fucking weird, don't you think? But not a bad career move. Not very good as a man. I know what I'll do. I'll become a woman.
I'm gonna do what's called a pro gamer move.
I can't tell you how free I feel now that I've started identifying as a woman.
For those of you guys that don't know, South Park did an entire episode in which this guy pretends to be a trans woman to get ahead in a sports. So, yeah, in case you guys didn't know, just thought I'd clarify what this clip comes from. Also, I'd like not to get copyright claimed. Thank you.
Debate around transgender people. It comes down to safety, right? You don't want a biological man fighting a biological woman or competing against a biological woman in a contact sport. But when it comes to weightlifting, we're talking about something else. We're not talking about safety. We are talking about fairness. Fairness is so important in sports. That's why they don't allow athletes to take steroids, because it's not fair. This is exactly the same. Laurel benefited from being born a man, because on average, men have a higher VO2 max, stronger and larger bones, stronger and larger fucking ligaments, higher levels of strength overall, just by being a boy.
So, he's reading an article right now, physiological differences between male and female athletes, but not physiological differences between cis women and cis men, or cis women and trans women. If you're trying to compare whether or not a trans woman competing against cis women would be fair, you want to compare the physiological differences between trans women and cis women, not cis men and trans women. Or, sorry, cis... God, too many categories here. Cis men and cis women. That's not how you do comparisons.
Higher levels of endurance, a better spatial navigation system built into their brain, higher levels of hand-eye coordination. Men are taller, men are heavier. Men on average have greater lung capacity and a greater resistance to injury. So if you multiply all of those factors on top of the 35 years that she benefited from being Gavin, you have an athlete that has a distinct unfair advantage over natural-born women. It sucks for her in her sport. She wants to be the best in the world, and I just wish she could. But it's just not fair to those women who have competed for years to be beaten by a lady who was a man. It's just not fair. She may very well be within the...
I can't stop looking at his beard jiggling. Is there something wrong with me? I just can't stop looking at his beard jiggle. I really, really just can't.
limits of testosterone allowed in transgender athletes of 10 nanomoles or nanometers or nano something. So but she has had so many years, 35 years, of benefiting from so many different variables that she may as well be on steroids. It is...
Hasn't he claimed in the past... By the way, no. For one, that's wrong on several levels. For starters, no. Being a guy... Is having testosterone if you're a cis guy basically being on steroids? No. Second... Taking hormones for a year or more has massive effects on your bone density, muscle strength, and so on, which would be very relevant when doing sports. So she is certainly at a... If she was competing against cis men, she would be not doing well due to the hormones that she's taken. Also, can I please get out of 2016? Please! Please! Get me out! We're back in 2016. Can we please stop with the fucking trans sports arguments? Please! Oh, God. Dude, I'm pretty sure... This is the end of the video anyway, by the way. I'm pretty sure Isaac Butterfield has spoken out against giving kids hormone blockers with the discretion of medical professionals before that know what they're doing. So it's weird that he would make the argument that the reason why this is bad is because that this trans woman has gone through a male puberty, when he's at the same time advocated against giving dysphoric trans youngsters hormone blockers to prevent them from going through said wrong puberty himself in the past. I remember we've covered videos where he said this before. The conservative mind is always in the past. I don't know, it just seems like for a while there they like upgraded their arguments, but now it's gone full circle again, you know? Yeah, 2016, go back to whence you came. I don't know, dude. I hate the trans sports debate because it's used constantly as a way of pushing like a transphobic narrative to normies that'll have like a very emotional reaction to that idea. And it's just so fucking annoying to debate with people. It is basically the abortion debate V2. But yeah. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, subscribe, ring the bell icon if you haven't already, comment on the video, it helps it a lot. And if you want to support me financially, you can donate or subscribe on my website, xanderhall.com/live. You can do the same on YouTube by either super chatting or hitting the join button. And you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and join my Reddit, and join my fan Discord, all in the links in the description. Please do that. Oh, and follow me on TikTok too. Do that as well. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and have a good one.